The Art Beat, a weekly program putting you in touch with artists and arts events from the J.T. and Margaret Talkington College of Visual and Performing Arts at Texas Tech University. Hello and welcome to The Art Beat on KLZK FM 105.7. I'm your host, Peter Martins, and we are full into summer, and in summer on the campus of Texas Tech and in the Talkington College of Visual and Performing Arts, that means camp time. So we are going to have several episodes in the coming weeks devoted to various camps across our different arts in our college, and we're going to start with Band and Orchestra Camp in the School of Music, or BOC as it's called. And I'm here today with someone who's on the band side, David Biel. Good morning, David.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me.
David has been, I think, part of the BOC in about as many roles as possible over the years. So why don't you just tell us where you've been and where you are now with the camp?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the School of Music, I think, is celebrating the 100th year. So that's really exciting. But then also BOC, of course, as we call it, Band and Orchestra Camp, they're at 91. So they've been going on for a long time. Right. But no, I've been there. This is my 25th year, and I started as a camper. When I was in high school, I flew up from San Antonio with my bassoon, and immediately when you go as a student into a camp like Texas Tech Band and Orchestra Camp, you get into this world of students that are all like you. Right. So my experience in band, and this is the same with, orchestra kids, is you have your little community. Right. And so I had my community at school of all of my band kids. And then within that, I had my sub-communities of my friends and whatnot. But everybody in band is their own little thing. But I had a school of 3,000 kids. So, it was like a micro school within there. And then you come to something like BOC, and every kid is like you. There are 700 kids that are all like you. They all love music, and they all want to be there, and they're all a little nerdy, and they all want to talk about the dorky thing that happened at halftime for this, or that time that their bow broke and whatever, and their orchestra director said this or that. But they all have those shared experiences, and then you realize my band is not just a microcosm. This is happening in Brownsville. This is happening in Lubbock. This is happening in Dallas and Alabama, or wherever these kids come from. They all come in together. And so as a student, you're like, wow, there's a world wider than my little world. So it was the first foray into that. And I think that's a really important thing for kids today, is to see there's a bigger world out there. Right?
Yeah, especially folks in smaller markets, so to speak, small school districts, 1A, 2A.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Kids. It's probably really eye-opening for those students. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I've progressed through, I was a camper, and then, of course, a college RA and a college teacher and whatnot. And then I kind of progressed through as an early band director, a young band director. I taught the classes and whatnot. And then now I've either been promoted or demoted. I'm not sure how you want to look at it, to one of the camp administrators. So I call myself the principal of the camp to the kids, because they can understand that in their language. And I'm the one that goes around and makes sure that everything's running smooth and the kids are doing what they should be.
All right, Chief Compliance Officer.
Yeah, there you go.
BOC.
Yeah. But I love it, and I'm actually retired now, retired band director. But now I still want to come back. I still want to be a part of this, because it was one of the most important parts of my life, and I want to do things like this radio program to tell people about what a great experience this could be for kids.
Right. So why don't you sketch out the basics? When is the camp? How do the students register? How do the parents get them registered?
So the camp is June 29th through July 5th, and it's a super great time of year. It's fun around the 4th of July to be in Lubbock and, be a part of the culture here. So the students can come up, be a part of that, and they can come from anywhere. Local. I mean, we have people that come from out of country to even come, and all over the country. We always have one or two from out of country, but we can have everybody get together, be a part of that program.
So how could a student get registered if they were interested in coming?
Yeah, so go to ttuboc.com, and parents can register their children. It could be anything from middle school on up to high school, even seniors who've recently graduated. And I would say if you're listening to this locally, students who just completed sixth grade, great experience for them. It really is. when I was a band director, I had a ton of my sixth graders come in because then they could really see how awesome it is. If you're listening to this program maybe out of city, maybe wait till seventh grade. That's my advice, right? But even seventh grade. So they can be local, so they go to the camp for the day and then go home at night. Or there's even a dorm portion, and you could do housing, and of course someone can stay at the camp overnight for the whole week, right? Honestly, the camp is a great experience because of the social and the music parts of it, but for the parent side of it, it's a great experience to have your kids go to a summer camp that's honestly one of the least expensive summer camps that I know of. If you just start researching summer camps.
Of any type.
Yeah, of anything. And so it's a great week that you can have the kids a little out of the house. Maybe you can get a little time. And then I always have my older students that go on into high school. The parents are 100% like, even though we're local, you're staying in the dorm. And the kids want to stay in the dorm. Like, hey, I get a vacation for a week.
Sure,
right. So cost-wise, local commuter cost, so the students in the area get a discount, $325 for the week.
Okay.
Super inexpensive. And then, of course, non-local kids, it's $350 for the week. And then housing, if your kid is staying in the dorm, is another $350, right? And that includes meal and stay. I think the best part about the camp is the music side, right? And it's kind of been my thing with music in general. I kind of want to trick the kids with the social and the community and just say, hey, here's a group of fun things that we can do all together. And then when I say the trick part, in the middle of all that, we can teach them some amazing musical things, right? So not only do we have access to some of the faculty members at Texas Tech, right? Most of the faculty is there for the week. And that was a great thing for older students. When I was a high school student, I could connect with the professors that I'm going to eventually have as college professors, right? Even if you're not going into music, and we have plenty of students that don't go into music, but they still connect with these professors in this community. It's a great experience to see what college is like at Texas Tech, right? So you have access to those amazing faculty members, but then also we have faculty that come in from all over Texas and all over the country that are some of the best in the state, if not the best. I mean, honestly, the world. Like, we know Texas is a great hub for music education in the world. So these are amazing people. I love just talking to these people, and these students have a great experience no matter what they're doing.
Yeah, wonderful. All right, thanks. So you've talked about the general structure, the big picture, the kind of motivation to get kids to come, that sort of thing. You mentioned this sixth graders or rising seventh graders all the way through rising college freshmen really attending. How does that translate in terms of the number of bands, the different levels of ensemble that actually exist during this BOC? How many bands are there, for instance?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's scalable, right? Depending on how many students we have. So let's say we have 7 bands. It'll break down into the band 6 and 7 would be like the middle school bands, for instance, and band 5 on up through band 1 will be on up to high school, and then they progress as they get through. And every single one of our groups has an amazing director, a part of it. Even the youngest band, those are actually some of, in my opinion, the most interesting educators to watch, right? And then it goes up to the top bands, for instance, are the professors are doing those groups. Like for Dr. Sarah McCoy is the director of bands at Texas Tech, and she conducts on a yearly basis the Wind Ensemble, the premier band group, and so she will be doing the top ensemble, right?
Gotcha. Right.
And so it's just a super great experience musically going on up. The interesting thing, too, is, again, why I think it's so fun for students is in their regular day, they're going to math class and then science class, and then they have band or they have orchestra, and then they go to this other class and this other class. And maybe like seniors might get to go to music theory. And so their music classes are what they go to school for. They love those classes. Well, then they go to Band and Orchestra Camp, and it's every day, every class is a music class. So they'll do their large ensemble, like their band or their orchestra class, and they'll do those 3 times a day, which is super crazy that they have like 3 hours of rehearsal where they usually only have 50 minutes maybe.
Right.
And then they'll also go to like a sectional class where they're working on their music and getting a little bit extra help for that. Or they'll go to a large ensemble where they get to be in like clarinet choir or, chamber ensembles for, orchestra group. And then they'll go into an elective class and their music theme elective. So it's just music all day. So then they get done with their day and you think, okay, that's great. It's about 4 or 5 o'clock. They're done with their school day. But then there's so much more to that too. So then there's the evening activities, right? So that they get to go, and there's evening activities for every type of personality of kid, right? So we have like the leisure pool, which is a super fun night where they all get to go to the Texas Tech leisure pool, which if you don't know what that is just like a little mini water park. And they always love that. Or then there's like dances and stuff like that for those kids that are super outgoing, or even those kids that just want to stand in the corner and be like, Snoopy and just be cool. Yeah. And so there's every mix. But again, it's not like their high school dance where there's this like cool kid, weird kid club or whatever. Every kid is I'll just say, like, I'm a weird band kid. Every kid is just having fun. You know what I mean? They're just there to be crazy and have fun. And then there's the crafts, or there's a movie night, or there's all sorts of different activities that they can do. And then of course sometimes in the evenings they have performances. There's like a talent show night. There's a jazz band night. There's an orchestra performance night. So they get to do all of that. It's so funny when I have my commuter students that are local, they'll go through the whole day, and maybe the first day they go home at 5. But then, like, definitely by the second day, they're always texting their parents or calling their parents saying, "Can you pick me up at like 9:30?" Because they want to go hang out with their new friends.
That's the part they're excited about, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you mentioned the electives during the day. I think it's kind of obvious. You go to a band or orchestra camp, you're going to be playing in a band or an orchestra, or maybe a couple of those. What sort of elective classes do students get to experience that they may not have the opportunity to do in their high schools at all, or middle schools?
Right. You can check those out on the website. There's a place that you can see all of the current electives, and they vary year to year based on some of the teachers and whatnot. But there's stuff like, for instance, the choir is what I call those. And it's not singing like a choir, but it's a choir like a horn choir, which means all horn students get together and play music just for the horn. Right. Or clarinet choir or brass choir. And so those are one of the favorite electives that everybody does and everybody kind of gets into because it's just cool to get to just play just the trombones, get to play this thing. It's a thing that kids love to do. And then there's things like a music history class or like a Beatles class where they get to just learn about the Beatles for an hour every day for a week. Right. And there's classes like music theory. That's another really popular class because that's like the math of music, right? And so you're trying to go
nuts and bolts.
You're trying to go through and figure out how music is made and how it's built, right? Or maybe physics is a better analogy for that.
Right.
So there's various electives. People can check those out. And then there's piano class, and so they could just do basic piano. And I'll admit that's probably more for the kids who've maybe never done it to like medium done it before. If they're a proficient, they've been playing since 5 and they're doing recitals. That's probably let's do something else. But there's a lot of really cool electives for them and great teachers.
Yeah, and I know from my standpoint, the training that you get in an ensemble in a high school or middle school is great. You get proficient on your instrument, but having some of those other skills, the keyboard skills, some music theory, music history knowledge is really, really helpful, especially if a student is thinking of going on to do music after high school. It can be a really great way to get a little leg up, and actually for some students that's their hook maybe. Like, boy, this side of music I'm really actually interested. I love playing my instrument. I love my band, but there's this whole other side of it, as you were saying before.
Yeah, and I think that's where, as a musician myself, that's where I first started to realize that all of the instruments rather are connected through music. Right? A really good friend of mine said something that I've always stuck in my brain. Instruments are easy. Music is hard. Right? Because if you learn music, and as us as musicians, you pick up the next, and it's all kind of the same. The buttons, you push the buttons down, you push the string this way, and it all kind of works, right? But the hard part is learning the music side of it. Right. And that's where a camp like Band and Orchestra Camp really starts to pull it all together as one group of things. And it's great because we have this long history of something that's been around for a long time, and people have been coming from all over. And I mean, we'll admit that if your grandchild, for instance, lives in Houston, there are probably 14 music camps that are between us and them. And there's a lot of really, really great camps out there. But this camp is a special one, and the special part of it is the connection of social versus high-level music. That's something that not many others have been able to replicate in the way that we have, and it's something that is our biggest promoter. Once you get
part
here,
of the DNA of the camp.
Yeah. I will admit I have never met a child that at the end of the week, on the concert day is on Saturday, at the end of the week, they think, not my thing, not for me. I have never, in all of my years with hundreds of kids coming in every year, I've never met a kid that said, I don't want to do this again. They always say, every kind of type of kid, they always say, I want to do it next year.
Well, that's the best kind of testament I think you can have to the success and longevity of something.
Right.
So we've been talking today with David Biel about the Texas Tech Band and Orchestra Camp, and this is first of 2 shows we're going to devote to the BOC. Next week you're going to hear from some of folks on the orchestra side, and as a little teaser, that's where you're going to find out about the final performances, which are open to the public. So we'll lay those out, talk about those, the when and the where, in a week. So I want to thank David Biel, and you can close us out.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on the program. And everybody can go out and register their kid or their grandkid. Go to ttuboc.com. There's only a short time left, so go ahead and get online, check it out. And, of course, you can always contact us through the website if you have any questions.
The Art Beat, a weekly program putting you in touch with artists and arts events from the J.T. and Margaret Talkington College of Visual and Performing Arts at Texas Tech University.